The Orange Democratic Movement Party has begun cracking the whip on perceived rebels, the first casualties being Malindi MP Aisha Jumwa and Msambweni counterpart Suleiman Dori, who have now been expelled for gross misconduct. ODM Secretary General Edin Sifuna says the two were punished for going against the party ideals and campaigning for Deputy President Dr. Ruto's presidential bid for 2022, as Chemutai Goen reports.
Ambalo mimi nimelipanda naitwa Sishuki,
na yule ambaye anasema ataka uraisi mpwani yoyote, sisi tunataka kusema tunamuunga mkono, lakini kama uraisi wako ni wasiri mwenyewe hutaki kuambia mtu, tunakuheshimu, bagia na siri yako.
It is statements such as this that have earned them an expulsion from the Orange Democratic Movement Party. The two fiery politicians now risk losing their seats over the 2022 succession politics.
NEC has adopted the recommendation of the disciplinary committee to have the two legislators, namely Honorable Aisha Jumwa and Honorable Suleiman Dori, expelled from the party.
Even the famous handshake, which seemed to cure some long-standing political differences, could seemingly not save them. Jumwa insists the handshake had built a political bridge and they had freedom of association.
Sidhani kama umenisikia nikiomba msamaha. Nimesema under the spirit of the handshake, everything now is water under the bridge.
If indeed the handshake was about endorsing anyone for 2022, the first person to be endorsed on the steps of Harambee House would have been Raila Odinga by Uhuru Kenyatta.
Sisi hatuna shida na chama, hatuna shida na kiongozi yoyote.
These pictures of Jumwa and Odinga falling over themselves with laughter gave the indication that she could have been pardoned, but the ODM NEC had other ideas. The two, however, faulted the disciplinary committee's recommendation to expel them, saying they were never accorded a hearing. Kilifi North MP Owen Baye using this to register his dissenting opinion, terming the expulsion a travesty of justice.
Mimi sikuappear before any disciplinary committee. I appeared before an individual ambaye anaitwa Fred at work. Kwa hivyo ile story ambayo iko kule nje ya kwamba disciplinary committee imerecommend ya kwamba Aisha Jumwa atolewe kwa chama, Fred at work ndio anajua. It's not a committee.
The politicians are, however, pointing an accusing finger at Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho for their misfortune. Already there has been a push to eject Juma from the powerful Parliamentary Service Commission position she holds.
Ikiwa itakuwa ni masala ya kwa kuwa hao walikuwa pamoja na makamu wa rais, alafu ndio waletu hapa, basi sisi tunaona kuwa wale ambao wataweza kuletwa hapa ni karibu viongozi wa Kenya mzima, kwa sababu wote walishikana na makamu wa rais kufanya kazi.
The verdict on the fate of 5 Homa Bay MCAs was postponed to a later date after it emerged that the matter was currently before court. Busia County Assembly member Immaculate Joyce Adhiambo, also recommended for expulsion, was pardoned after she showed remorse. While all is not lost for Aisha Jumwa and Suleiman Dori as they can move to court, it remains to be seen how they will be received on the ground by their constituents following the party's decision. Chemutai Goen, Citizen TV, Nairobi.
Right, so that's the report by Chemutai Goen, and of course it has been given coverage on page 6 of the Standard and page 4 of the Daily Nation. So they sound to have changed their tone from Vina kazi yake to now saying that in the spirit of handshake, everything should rest. I mean, what do you make of this? It's your party.
Well, it is true that they are changing their original position because now they can see the sword is ready and they are on the chopping board. So anything can happen any minute. So, and of course, no politician is ready for a by-election anytime. No one, even if you are sure of garnering 100% of the votes, you're still not very sure because of the costs involved. My brother Osian and my brother Honorable Kirwa have both, gone through this, and they understand the intricacies involved. So they are not ready. However, I do not know what could have prompted them to talk as they did. That has therefore necessitated the disciplinary committee's recommendation for expulsion. But first things first, they now talk about the handshake. And what we are saying is that we are not going to use the handshake to subvert our laws. The Constitution, read clearly in Article 103, talks about vacancy in the office of a member of parliament. And one of which is of great interest is that once you are deemed to have an association by a different political outfit outside your party that sponsored you into the House, then you are deemed to have, left. You're deemed to have resigned. You're deemed to have exited that office. And a piece of legislation, which is also, talked about in the same article, is the Political Parties Act, that says association with a political outfit, you automatically lose that seat. So what we are saying is that they have come out times more than number to associate themselves with Jubilee Party's presidential candidate for 2022. And they have not, this is not a secret. They have openly, lent their support to Deputy President. So they were taken before the disciplinary committee. Of course, now they can say what they want, and they were not convinced. They were not convincing on their line of defense. In fact, they were represented by lawyers. Then the matter came before us. I'm a member of the National Executive Committee, and we deliberated over this matter last year, and then gave them another second bite at the cherry, and that was yesterday. But still, they were not convincing. So we are saying that we are adopting the position of the disciplinary committee to have them expelled from the party.
Even though Aisha Jumwa says that she never appeared before disciplinary committee, just the chairperson?
Well, ODM is one of the biggest political parties in East and Central Africa. And it is a party of procedure. It is a party that follows due process. She can say what she's saying now, but she still has a record. She can go to a court of law and prove beyond doubt that she only appeared before an individual. An individual cannot comprise of a committee. But, suffice to say, we have taken that position as a political party. In fact, if she's very confident of all that she had said before, she ought to have resigned. But now she's being subjected to all this due process. The matter will go to the registrar of political parties. She will be deregistered from ODM. The issue will then be communicated to the Speaker of the National Assembly, who will then issue a writ to IBC to declare the seat vacant and hence precipitate a by-election. And we are ready.
Even though I see that that decision is by the National Executive, is it Council or Committee?
Committee.
Committee, but it has to be ratified by the National Governing Council.
Right, yeah,
So we still a long way to go, because even after that, she can now complain to the Political Parties Disputes Tribunal. Beyond that, she can pursue the justice system from High Court all the way up. Right. But in essence, Mheshimiwa Kirwa, it's not the first time that we have seen such situations in political parties that people champion for a certain candidate, get elected, then after election they start switching their allegiance and interests. What do we need to do to bring that party discipline, that it doesn't have to take people like Aisha Jumwa and Suleiman Dori to really toe the line and the ideals of a political party?
I think it starts with what the President and former Prime Minister Raila are trying to do. That is to create a truly cohesive nation called Kenya. So that political parties will stem from a cohesive nation, so that whichever part of the country you come from, you can join another political party without being seen that you are joining them, where them is the other tribe. Because as we are today, the political parties that we have in Kenya is just a convenient coalition of certain communities or a political understanding crafted around an individual. And I can say this with a lot of respect to former Prime Minister, because he's somebody that we work together and I respect. In the absence of Raila, ODM will struggle to survive if Raila was not there today. And in the absence of Ruto and Uhuru, Jubilee will be non-existent. And therefore, it has become a fact in Africa that political parties are yet to be built into institutions that can transit from one leader to the other, except ANC in South Africa and CCM in Tanzania. The rest of the continent, people are either forced into it or they become members of political parties without necessarily understanding what the party entails. Fast forward, each political party should also make it clear to members on these borders. I'm sure some of these new members may not even be aware of what Mheshimiwa was saying, that the law prohibits me declaring support for another presidential candidate from another political party. So there is need for public education and civic education for new members to the party so that they fully understand. Number two, there is also need for politicians, including ourselves, to have good manners. This is bad manners because I know Mheshimiwa is here. I was a member of parliament for 4 terms, 20 years. And there is no time I had enough money. We started with a salary of 18,000. I ended with a salary of 1 million shillings. And yet, almost every month, I was trying...
Of how many years?
20 years.
Wow.
So every week, I was struggling to live the week by going for mileage because my salary was either nil, and at times it was negative, until Controller and Auditor General said somebody cannot have negative salary. What does it mean? Some of these political leaders might be going for some of these lifts because at the end of the day you are given a small brown envelope which can make a difference between you getting home and you staying in Nairobi. And therefore we need to allow our leaders to realize it's not about money, it is about good manners, so that people respect you. Finally, and I think this is something I plead with my friend here, Mheshimiwa Okello, please let this be a learning lesson. Forgive them.
I love that.
Okay. And that brings me to the question, what is the place of remorse, apology, and toning down what people might have said in the past and now where they are? Because when you listen to the two, they're quite remorseful.
You know, Sam, it is said, only a fool doesn't change his mind. And so sometimes you start very haughtily and you're cocky and you're all mad and you think you have arrived. But then as time goes by, you realize that that was done against your better judgment. But this also speaks to the place of decency in any disagreement. We may disagree, but we have to be decent in our disagreement. And I think I love Musalia Mudavadi for it. Musalia Mudavadi has disagreed with Raila's handshake. He says, you know what, we had an original format, we were going to somewhere. I do not think that is the best route to take, because he looked for a few things. Gradually, he has now seen that there may be beneficial things to country towards, in that handshake, and to an extent he agrees. But even when he disagreed, he was decent about it. So, because it is the nature of human beings, not only politicians, we are socialized differently. We therefore have very different perspectives. Disagreement is only but bound to happen. But when they happen, there has to be a level of modesty and decency in it. And so for those who are elected today, who wish to disagree with their party lines, who wish to disagree with their party leaders, foremost, be decent. Secondly, ensure that you have a conviction in anything you pursue. So therefore, if you have the conviction that this is a house that I do not belong to, do what Raila Odinga did with Ford Kenya. Said, you know what? I don't think I belong here. I do not think you represent my ideology. I do not think you represent what I stand for. Consequently, I am going to seek a fresh mandate from the people. So you must be bold to go the whole hog. All right? And if you know you do not have the nerve or the backbone to go the whole hog, then revert to rule number 1, be decent. So that tomorrow you have recourse. You have a gap to say sorry, and that apology will make a bit of sense. You see, sometimes we go too far. That apology becomes too hard unless the Lord is in your heart like he is in David Osian's. It becomes very hard for others to say, we forgive you.
Yes.
But I urge forgiveness. In the spirit of handshake, they too have sought forgiveness. You know, he who seeks receives. So when it goes to the NGC, because this was NEC in a Jared Okello, they were very brutal. And I understand them, because this is politics. And in politics, you decide. You cannot sit on the fence. You decide, I am here with you, or I am there with them. And if you're there with them, those of us who are here tell you, go there. So the NGC, since they have now backtracked, they have seen that it's not as easy as it seems. And going for an election in Coast Province against Raila Odinga is very hard. Ask Najib Balala.
Mungaro.
Ask Mungaro. So, because of that, since they have apologized, dear Jared Okello, as a member of NEC, and who, I think you sit in the NGC as well, please, take their plea, take our plea with Honorable Kirwa for their forgiveness.
Okay.
Well, you know, as I said, this is a party that follows due process. They were given an opportunity to vindicate themselves, but they still exhibited grandstanding. So that does not work in the current dispensation. But one thing that is important to note is that leaders have had a penchant of abusing laws, and nothing is done to them. Let us not be like the biblical hypocrites who will preach water in the day and drink wine in the night. So if you are for ODM, please be in ODM. There's been a laxity in enforcement of laws touching on politics that have therefore perpetuated political prostitution. That is why people, you know, move from one political outfit to another. So a time is here that we, you know, defended our position as ODM. And even if we lose those seats, it is okay. But we shall have sent a message that ODM is a party that subscribes to the tenets of our laws.